Imagine opening a coffin after 500 years and finding a face, intact, smooth, as if the person had fallen asleep just last night. This has happened many times, and science still doesn't have a definitive answer. Today, we're stepping inside some of the darkest churches in Europe. We're opening records the church has kept hidden for centuries, and we're asking a question that unsettles both scientists and believers. Why do some bodies simply not decay? Decomposition is one of the most absolute laws of nature. After death, the human body begins to break down within hours. Bacteria, enzymes, time, everything conspires to return matter to the earth. This process is universal, inevitable. It happens to kings and beggars, to saints and sinners, or almost all of them. Within the Catholic Church, there exists a phenomenon documented for over 1,000 years. A phenomenon that has sparked scientific investigations, theological debates, and continues to divide opinions among doctors, historians, and believers. They are known as incorrupt bodies. More than 100 cases have been officially recognized throughout history, each one examined, some superficially, others rigorously, and yet none of them have received an explanation that fully satisfies everyone. Let's explore the most disturbing cases. Lourdes, France, 1858, a 14-year-old girl named Bernadette Soubirous claimed to have seen the Virgin Mary in a grotto. The entire world heard about it. Pilgrims came from everywhere. And Bernadette, the girl who started it all, died in 1879 at the age of 35, consumed by bone tuberculosis. But this is where things become strange. In 1909, 30 years after her death, her body was exhumed during the process of beatification. The doctors expected to find remains, bones, perhaps nothing more. What they found left them speechless. Bernadette's body was intact. Her limbs were flexible, her skin preserved, her face still recognizable. The doctors formally recorded there was no natural explanation for this state of preservation. In 1919, another exhumation, same result. In 1923, a third, and again, the same conclusion. Today, Bernadette rests in the Basilica of Saint-Gildas in Nevers, inside a glass and gold reliquary, her face exposed, so that anyone can look into the eyes of someone who died more than 140 years ago. But Bernadette is not alone. Saint John Bosco, founder of the Salesians, he died in 1888. When his coffin was opened years later, his body was intact. Even his lungs, which should have been destroyed by the disease that killed him, were preserved in a way doctors could not explain. Saint Catherine of Siena, a mystic, a counselor to popes, a doctor of the church, her body remained incorrupt. Her head and thumb were separated as relics, preserved in different churches, and they are still there. Saint Vincent de Paul, the patron of charity, he died in 1660. His skeleton was later covered with a wax mask because his original face was so well preserved that it caused overwhelming emotion among the faithful. Saint Pio of Pietrelcina, Padre Pio, known for the stigmata on his hands. He died in 1968. When his body was exhumed in 2008, 40 years later, official medical reports described an unusual level of preservation for the time that had passed. Saint Zita of Lucca, Italy, 13th century, a simple servant known for her devotion and charity toward the poor. She died in 1272. Her body was placed in a tomb in the church of San Frediano, where it remains to this day, more than 750 years later. What makes her case so striking is not just the preservation, it's the visibility. Unlike many other saints, her body is displayed without any artificial covering. The original face, the original skin, the hands that once served the poor, still there, still recognizable, as if time had simply stopped demanding its price. Doctors who examined her body over the centuries reported the same thing. No known preservation method, no chemical traces, no documented intervention, just the body and time that failed to do what it should. And then, there is perhaps the most disturbing case of all, Saint Rose of Viterbo, Italy, 1252. An 18-year-old girl, known for her intense faith and mystical experiences. She died of illness and was buried in a simple tomb. 6 years later, when her coffin was opened, the body was warm, not preserved, not embalmed. Warm, as if it still held body temperature. 6 years after death, witnesses recorded it. Documents exist. And to this day, there is no scientific explanation, not just for the preservation, but for the warmth. How do you explain that? When science examines these cases, it finds some answers, but not all. Saponification, a process where body fat transforms into a soap-like substance, can preserve bodies under specific conditions. Natural mummification occurs in extremely dry environments. The absence of bacteria in certain soils can slow decomposition, but these processes have limits, and some features of incorrupt bodies don't fit into any known scientific category. What truly intrigues researchers is not just preservation, it's the flexibility of tissues. After decades or even centuries, it's the reports of a sweet, floral scent, recorded across different countries and time periods. What has been called the odor of sanctity, and the absence of any detectable chemical treatment. In 1988, scientists analyzed the bodies of two saints using modern techniques. Their conclusion? The preservation was real. The cause? Unknown. This does not prove a miracle, but it does not rule one out either. And perhaps the most unsettling part is not the answer, but the absence of one. For the Catholic Church, incorruptibility alone is not enough to declare someone a saint. It is not automatically considered a miracle, but it is seen as a sign, something worthy of attention, investigation, and reverence. For scientists, each case is a problem to solve. And intellectual honesty demands admitting some problems remain unsolved. For the faithful who stand before these bodies, who look into a preserved face through glass, the debate becomes secondary. What they experience goes beyond explanation. And maybe that's what makes this phenomenon so powerful. These bodies do not fully belong to any world. Not to science, which cannot explain them. Not to faith, which does not require them. They exist in between, where death should have won, and something hesitated. Hundreds of years, dozens of countries, more than 100 documented cases. Bodies that should be dust, but are still faces. The question is not whether you believe. The question is, what do you do with something science cannot explain and faith does not demand? If this video disturbed you in a good way, you know what to do. Leave a like. Because the algorithm needs a signal as mysterious as these bodies to reach more people. Subscribe to the channel because in the next videos we're going deeper. Relics that bled, statues that cried, apparitions examined by medical commissions. And tell me in the comments, do you believe there is a natural explanation for all of this? Or is there something beyond what science can reach? The bodies are still there, in the reliquaries, in the churches, waiting, as they always have.